KOK, Voice of Korea, News Now. The Political Bureau of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea called another emergency consultative meeting and discussed anti-epidemic measures on May the 15th. The respected Jong Un, General Secretary of the Workers' Party of Korea, guided the meeting. Present at the meeting were members of the Presidium of the Political Bureau of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea and members and alternate members of the Political Bureau of the Party Central Committee. Also on hand as observers were officials of the State Emergency Anti-Epidemic Field and a leading official of the Ministry of Public Health. The Political Bureau listened to the report of the State Emergency Anti-Epidemic Headquarters on the spread of the pandemic on May the 15th. The consultative meeting re-examined the overall anti-epidemic situation after the state anti-epidemic system has been switched over to the greatest emergency anti-epidemic system and intensively discussed an issue to immediately correct deviations that occurred in the supply of medicines. Referring to the supply of medicines across the country, Jong Un made an analysis of the present situation that though the Political Bureau of the Party Central Committee gave emergency instructions on urgently releasing the state reserve medicines and immediately supplying them in order to promptly deter and control the spread of the pandemic, and ordered all the pharmacists to go over to the round-the-clock service system, there hasn't been any active mobilization or proper implementation as yet, and the medicines have not been supplied to the pharmacies in time. He said the medicines supplied by the state failed to reach the residents in time and correctly through pharmacies because the officials of the cabinet and the public health sector, its direct executors, have not correct understanding of the present crisis and do not devote themselves to the people while paying lip service to the spirit of devotee service for them. He strongly criticized the irresponsible work attitude and organizing and executive ability of the cabinet and the public health sector. He pointed out that the judicial and procuratorial sectors, which should powerfully guarantee the execution of the party policies by law, failed to keep legal observation and control properly so that the executive order on the supply of medicines can be promptly and correctly carried out, and to correct different undesirable practices in the treatment and sale of medicines throughout the country. He sharply reprimanded the delinquency of the director of the Central Public Prosecutor's Office in his duty, who has failed to feel any responsibility and compunction and play any role even in the grave situation. Jong Un pointed out some deviations occurring in the overall anti-epidemic work and took practical measures to urgently correct them. He gave a special order of the Central Military Commission of the Workers' Party of Korea on immediately stabilizing the supply of medicines in Pyongyang City by mobilizing powerful doctors of the People's Army. He said it is impossible to take firm strategic initiative in the present anti-epidemic war if all the leading officials do not display their greatest efforts and fighting spirit and extraordinary ability and wisdom. He stressed the need to maintain high tension and vigilance in the acute anti-epidemic war and plan and command all the work in a scientific way and in detail so as not to allow any trifling gap and fault. He said the officials should lead the anti-epidemic struggle with substantial work and results. On the basis of the detailed analysis of the present anti-epidemic situation of the country, Jong Un discussed ways to enforce the anti-epidemic policy more efficiently and presented immediate orientation and goals of struggle. The consultative meeting also discussed issues on further strengthening the administrative control of the state over the emergency anti-epidemic work, on thoroughly ensuring the hygienic safety of dealing with medicines at the pharmacies, on intensifying the legal control over the anti-epidemic work, and on raising the state's ability to cope with the crisis. Soon after winding up the consultative meeting of the Political Bureau of the Party Central Committee, Jong Un called at pharmacies in Pyongyang City to learn about the supply of medicines. He was accompanied by Jong Un and Kim Do-kun, members of the Presidium of the Political Bureau of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea, Choi Kyung-chol, Minister of Public Health, and leading officials of departments concerned of the Party Central Committee. According to the instructions of Jong Un, members and alternate members of the Political Bureau of the Party Central Committee made a field survey of pharmacies in Pyongyang City. Jong Un dropped in at pharmacies in Daedonggang district to acquaint himself in detail with the supply and sale of medicines. He asked in detail what kind of medicines were supplied after the operation of the greatest emergency anti-epidemic system, if the medicines had been kept according to rules, if the pharmacies have been switched over to the round-the-clock service system, if they consult the patients who have come to the pharmacies, what kind of antifibrils and antibiotics they have, what kind of medicines are most wanted by the inhabitants now, and how much they are. Kim Jong Un underscored the need time and again to correct the defect in the medicine supply system and take powerful practical measures concerning the transport of medicines. He said that now almost all the pharmacies have not been built well enough to fulfill their functions, and they do not have any place to keep medicines except for showcases. He also pointed out the situation that the saleswomen are rendering services without wearing proper overalls and the hygienic environment which has not reached the standard. He said this anti-epidemic war is thoroughly the anti-epidemic work for the people and the popular one done by the people themselves as its masters. He emphasized once again that all the officials should make selfless, devoted efforts for the good of the people with the determination to bear full responsibility for the security and well-being of the country and people. Successes are reported at different units of the national economy of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. The Hungary fertilizer complex is producing fertilizer while directing efforts to managing the equipment according to technical regulations. It is more vigorously promoting the technical innovations than before to raise the proportion of the home production of catalysts and lower the norms for consumption of materials per unit. The favorite Ace Vinalone complex is taking active measures to ensure normal operation of the equipment while putting greater efforts into their technical management. The Jong Un machine complex is powerfully speeding up the production of custom-built equipment while solving the problems with its own efforts and technology. Active efforts are made in South Hamgyong province of Korea to supply materials needed for the construction of the Ryompo greenhouse farm. Some time ago, the task of producing different sizes of hewn concrete pipes was carried out amid the increasing output of aggregate. The province is putting greater spurs to supply materials for the construction of the greenhouse farm.